Hey, my name's John from Red, White and Blue. Welcome to our webpage. Today we're going to run through a tank lining on this tank here and show you the process from start to finish. Okay, we have a Vincent tank here that's a friend has asked me to sort his problem out for him. This is a beautiful Vincent tank, but it does have a problem with quite an amount of rust inside, to the point that it has actually started to bubble the bottom of the tank. Now, it's quite a nice paint job and it's a very good tank, but we can save this tank. And I thought this would be an ideal tank for us to show you today, what we can do with the process. So first thing, pull the tank off your motorcycle, and then we need to put some plugs in where the fuel caps. Now, there's lots of different ways you can do. You can use just brass fittings, you can use some old taps, or you can simply use corks, but it's very important that you actually cover all of the thread in the bottom of the tank so that it doesn't get bound up with your tank, your epoxy later. Okay, first thing is we need to give this tank a very good detergent wash. Now, just following on the instructions, we need to have 4 litres of boiling hot water, which is what we have here. We've got, so we'll pour 4 litres into our bucket. Okay, now into our 4 litres of boiling hot water, we're going to add a household detergent, washing detergent. I like to actually use nappy sand. It's got a little bit, it's a little bit stronger. So we'll add a quantity of that into our hot water. This is just to clean the tank out prior to our rust removal. So we've got our mix there. Just be careful, it is boiling hot water. Okay, now we have our boiling hot water with our detergent, household detergent solution in the tank. Just prior to putting a cap on there, just give it a bit of a run around. Just be careful, this is boiling hot water. Just to give it a bit of a run round. Now, I have a custom built cap that I've made up for doing tanks. You don't have to have one of these, and I'll explain that at the moment. I simply just put that on there. Then I tighten it down just to seal it. It doesn't have to be real tight because obviously with hot water in there it does need to take a little bit of air. But for you at home, you can simply just use plastic and put your cap back over the top, which is absolutely fine. And then give the tank a good shake around with that hot water in there. You need to do this for 3 or 4 minutes, giving it a very good wash just to get rid of as much rubbish inside the tank and killing a lot of the old fuel. Now our tank's had a good detergent wash and has been emptied, and we've rinsed it out. It is now time to add our rust remover. Now, our rust remover we need to mix with 4 litres of cool water, which we have here already. I have the water in there, and we simply add the powdered solution, the rust remover, into the bucket. Okay, we give that a good mix. Wasn't hurt. We can use our paddle just to give it a good mix there prior to going into the tank. Now, this is a citrus base rust remover, so it is reasonably mild. It won't hurt your paintwork, but obviously try and keep it away from as much of your paintwork as possible, hence why I'm using a funnel here. If you happen to spill a little bit on your paintwork, that's fine, just give it a quick wipe off. And then once again, we put our plug back in. So now we have our rust solution in there. We have a cardboard box here that has scrunched up newspaper in it. Because what we need to do now, our rust solution is in the tank. We give it a good swirl round. Now we need to leave the tank at different angles, depending on how bad the tank is, but for a couple of hours, say 2 hours at each point of the tank. So there, 2 hours there, upside down, give it a good go for 2 hours, up, and then you can leave it for bad tanks overnight, sitting on there so that the rust is dissolved over that period. So depending on how bad the tank is, you can leave it up to 2 days. The longer the better. Don't worry, it won't eat the metal, it'll only dissolve the rust. Okay, now we have our tank here with the rust solution in there that has been rotated for 2 hours at each point of the tank to get good contact over the last 24 hours. So now we're going to empty the contents out and see what we've got. We had minor scaly rust in this tank, but it's certainly not as bad as what I've seen. Okay, now we have our rust remover out of the tank. We now need to do our pH neutralizer. What this will actually do will basically stop the tank from rusting from here on in. This is quite important. Grab yourself an old milk container, 2 litres. Once again, boiling hot water. So we need to go 2 litres of boiling hot water. Once again, just be careful. And now we add our red pH to our 2 litres of boiling hot water. Straight in. Straight into the fuel tank. Once again, won't hurt the paintwork. Okay, now we seal our tank with our cap with whatever process that you've decided on. Now with the pH neutralizer, we need to shake this around in the tank for 5 to 10 minutes. Now, this is quite an important part of the whole tank process, so slosh it around the tank. And this is going to nicely stop the tank from re-rusting prior to us adding our product into the tank. Okay, now we've rotated our pH neutralizer, which is our red, for 4 to 5 minutes, and we've now emptied it out of the tank. Next step is we need to get this reasonably dry. Now I do have compressed air here and I'll run an air gun through it. You can use a hairdryer, just be careful obviously if you've got paintwork, or you can just simply leave it outside and let it dry. Okay, the next process is to actually add our epoxy. Now we have a nice, clean, rust-free tank ready to go. We've got our bung in place, and a handy thing to have also is one of these cheap little LED torches, so that when we put our solution in, and we'll talk about that, it gives you a good view, and you can actually see that they're worth having for this particular job. Okay, now here we are, we're mixing our epoxy. Simply there's our epoxy, the blue of course. Give our hardener a very good shake, which is our white, which is our hardener there. And we add all of the hardener straight into our tub of blue, which is the epoxy. So straight in there, make sure that all goes in there, and now give it a good mix up. Okay, now we've got our epoxy mixed. No need to panic here. It takes about an hour for the epoxy to go off. Doesn't hurt to leave it standing for 1 or 2 minutes, just to try to set it up, but prior to pouring it in the tank, which we've done here. And now we'll just simply add all of our epoxy into the tank. Okay, now we seal the cap up once again, and now we're ready to roll the epoxy around the tank. So it's simply just a bit of a rotation, just work your way around, and the solution will just slowly work around over the tank. Generally what I do this, roll it round, roll it backwards and forwards, and make sure that I actually get plenty on top of the tank. Because my preferred method is that I actually like to, after I know that I've got plenty on top, is turn it over and actually pull the plug back out and then just roll it from here, so that you can actually keep an eye on what's actually going on in there. I find that a lot easier. Okay, now we pull our plug out. This is just a little bit of advice from my end. Generally now we've got plenty of solution over the top of the tank. I like to be able to see what we're actually doing. Just wipe a little bit of the excess after we've got round the top there. We know we've got plenty on top of the tank. So from here, we'll just keep simply rotating the tank to get our solution into all the corners. Okay, now we just simply keep rotating our tank, and we can leave it intermittently in the box. That's the whole idea of the box. You can keep rolling it around and sitting it, keeping an eye on your solution as to prior to when it goes off. don't panic. As I said, you've got up to an hour, generally depending on the conditions that you're in. I'm in a quite cool climate here today. If you are in a warmer climate, it could be down as quick as 25 minutes to half an hour. But it is important that you actually just keep an eye on your solution, because you really don't want it pooling in any one spot. Obviously, if you've only got light scaly rust in your tank, tip excess out. You really don't need it unless you've actually got holes. This will repair holes up to the size of a 20-cent piece. But just for light scaly rust, just tip the excess out. You're only looking at a covering just to get rid of that minimal rust. Okay, just different alternatives to different fuel tanks. Obviously the red, white and blue will do any sort of tank. Now typically a BMW tank here has a different sort of a cap. Once again, we can use our plastic sleeve, just a simple bit of plastic, back into the cap, screw it down to seal it off. Also BMWs have a red ochre paint sealer inside. There's absolutely no problems with our rust remover inside that tank. It'll only remove where there is rust or the very poor quality of paint. If the paint's solid, it won't remove it, and that's fine. Leave it there. The epoxy will go straight over the top of it, so no problems at all. Okay, now red, white and blue is also absolutely fine for cars. Obviously you'll need to double your capacity of kit. The red wine pack that we currently have is 25 litres, so you'd need to double your pack and just double your instructions. I have one in the old Healy, no problems at all, and many other people in the car industry, so no problems for cars or trucks, whatever. Okay, and there we have it. There's our Vincent tank. Has now got a sealer in it, and the owner will be very happy with that. We've saved his paintwork, and it's now got a solid sealer in it that'll be there for years to come. If you need any help, please jump onto our webpage and send us an email. Alternatively, you can give us a call. We're happy to answer any questions. Once again, the tank liner will work on any fuel tank, truck, car, motorbike, lawnmower, outboard, whatever it may be. Just give us a call and we'll talk you through it.